Hey guys, so it's been a while since I posted a video, and there's a few reasons for that. One, I was actually just driving the car quite a bit. It's got about a little over 3,500 miles on it now, which for this thing is a lot since it's just a toy. The overall everything's been working pretty well with it. As you can see, I'm in the middle of a few projects, so I'm going to do a few videos on this. A couple of them were unexpected. One was planned. So this first video is going to be about installing that guy, the electric water pump. I'll take you through that process. I decided to put an electric water pump on it because there was nothing really wrong with the mechanical pump. It's one of these projects that I just wanted to do because I spin this motor up to 8,000 or so RPM, which obviously I'm sure there's some cavitation in the water pump with that. Plus at idle, I just wanted to make sure it was getting proper cooling, and it cleans up the front of the motor quite a bit. So let's get into that. I've got the alternator out, which goes right there, and kind of hard to see up there, but that's the clearance I've got. You can see the water pump pulley. So not a whole heck of a lot of clearance on a mid-engine car before you hit the frame. So just gradually taking stuff off so I can get as much clearance as possible to pop the old water pump off. Excuse me. I'll probably pull the damper, the pulley off of the hub just to get a little bit more clearance as well. All the coolant's drained, all the oil is drained. There are a bunch of the hoses and the old thermostat. And then the other thing is my anti-gravity battery that I had right there took a dump. It was working one day and it wasn't working the other day. Like literally, I started it was fine, and then it just like dropped down to like 10 volts, and then eventually down to like 0 volts. I talked to their tech support, and they told me to send it in for warranty. I'll probably upgrade it to the next larger size because they let you do that, and then they'll figure out what happened to the thing. Aside from that, I've loved that battery. It's been super reliable. It's got plenty of power. It was like 4 pounds. So I'm just anyway, we'll see what happens with that. I'm supposed to get the new one this weekend. So that is brief update. And while I'm in there, you can see a couple of the like one of the heater hoses is in here, and then I've got right here is one of these are the heater hoses. You can't really see the other one that go all the way up or along the side of the car into the heat exchanger for the cabin heater. I live in Texas. I don't know why the hell I decided to put a heater in this thing. Even if I move back up to Chicago or up north, it's not like I'm going to drive it in the winter anyway, so I'm taking all that out. Just one less thing to worry about. So taking out the regulator that sends the heat up there. Plus it makes the water pump install a little bit easier, save some weight at the same time. And then this is an LS manifold from Davies Craig. This replaces the water pump housing, so the factory water pump housing. Got your water inlet, water outlet. So I'll need to do new routing of the hoses to meet my coolant pipes. And then this is the new water pump. That's the Davies Craig 150. So it's the biggest one they make, which is plenty for the power that I'm running at. And then that is going to go right over there. You can see the water pipe coming up, but I'm going to mount it over in here. That's where I used to have a charcoal canister mounted over there for emissions, but I don't have to do the emissions, so I took that out. Yeah, so that's where we're at right now. I got to keep on taking some stuff apart and get the water pump out, and then we'll give an update. All right, update on the project. Obviously, the water pump is out. That was a pain in the ass. So the water pump is about almost exactly 5 inches from the face of the block to the tip of the pulley, which, of course, in a mid-engine car like this, goes right between the block, obviously, and the frame rail right up there, which is just a hair under 6 inches. So getting that thing out, I didn't have anywhere to kind of put the camera in while I was doing it, but I had to get it to clear the bolts for the timing cover, obviously. So fortunately I was able to, once I disconnected the hoses, tilt it just enough where it barely kind of scraped through, and then I was able to pull it out the passenger side here down since I had the oil pump off. So that sucked. I don't want to do that again. I did actually try to take the I popped off the bolts holding the ATI damper to the hub, but it doesn't want to come off. I don't have clearance to get a puller up there. I was just trying to get some extra room out of it. I tried, tapping it and wiggling it a little bit, and it doesn't want to move. So so I said, screw it, I'll leave it on there, and just tighten it back up. I don't want to screw it up while I'm trying to get that thing off. So up there you can see the bottom of the air conditioner compressor, which on this thing I have it mounted basically at the front of the valley, because I have space in there with the Holly high ram, yeah. So, and then the alternator, of course, goes right here. So that's out. Then what I need to do, in addition to cleaning up some stuff, is, so this is the manifold that's going to go in its place. The cool water comes in here, just because the orientation of the radiator. You can do it on either side, but on my car it just makes sense to put it over here. Nothing's tightened up yet, but and then the hot water comes out. That's out the front. You can see in the back it's just got the ports that go into the block. It's a pretty compact unit. The only thing that I was originally thinking I might be able to get by with shortened up 90 to clear the frame on this guy, but after I measured it, it's that even if I shorten up the hose a bit, it puts it like right at 6 inches, which is going to make it a pain to install. They sell a 90-degree bend for this thing. These are -16 O-ring fittings. So basically, they sell a 90 that goes into that port. So I'm going to use that instead. Stupid things are like $60 or something crazy like that. I don't know why fittings cost so damn much, but anyway, so that's what I'll be doing next. I did debate about switching the whole thing over to -16 or 20 AN, but honestly, it was just more work than the benefit for the amount of work that it was going to be was just not worth it. I'd have to like weld fittings on to the radiator pipes and all that kind of stuff. In hindsight, if I was doing it all over again from scratch, I may have just gone that route to begin with, but like I said, it's not really that big of a deal either way. So that's what's next. All right, so on to doing some more cleanup in the block and get that manifold mocked up and see what it looks like. And what I've got in here right now is that that manifold, the electric water pump manifold is just mocked up. As you can see, the bolts aren't even all in there, just tight, but I've just got it mocked up to see about waterline routing. That one right there is that's the cold water or hot water out, and that needs to go over here. Oops, lights in the way. To that guy right there. So that's the water pipe that leads up to the radiator inlet side. So it goes without saying that there's not enough clearance in front of that between the water outlet and, I'm trying to hang my light here, and the frame. That's like, I don't know, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches if I'm lucky. So obviously I'm not going to be able to fit in a 90 hose there. So I think, like I mentioned before, they sell a 90 that mounts right off of here. So it's going to bring it straight this way, and then I just need a length of hose with a 90-degree bend to get over there. So that's reasonably straightforward. I just have to order that. Over on the driver's side, I've got the pump. It's literally just sitting on a block of wood, so you can see the. Figure out where I can hang this stupid light. Okay. So the inlet of the pump, I don't know if you can see it, is, okay, that sucks. There we go. Inlet of the pump is right there. So what I'll do is cut this pipe over there, just past kind of where that clamp is, P-clamp is just sitting. Crimp the, put a bead on the end of the pipe, and then just do a 90 into the water pump inlet. The way they recommend is that you have it either at kind of a horizontal inlet or at a 45 like it is now, but they don't recommend it vertical to avoid any cavitation in the pump. So basically where it's aligned right now should be pretty good. And then it's literally just a straight shot out of the pump into the inlet on the manifold over there. Again, everything's just mocked up right now. The other thing is figuring out how to route the that belt while I've got all this stuff off. So obviously, without the water pump in there, the hose will just, or sorry, the belt will just come off of the AC compressor. There's going to be an idler like right about here before it goes back to the main pulley, up around another idler, and then to the alternator. So the belt routing is going to be pretty straightforward. I just need to, here's my alternator bracket. I just need to relocate a couple of the idlers, and then there's a manual. You get rid of the spring-loaded tensioner, and there's just a manual one that you use instead. So that is next bit on the project. So we'll take it from there. Alright, so my neighbor's guys just decided to start mowing the lawn, so perfect timing for doing a quick update. Hopefully that noise isn't too bad. So I've got the header, or the manifold all put together. So this is that 90-degree adapter that I was talking about. It's got a big set nut here with a O-ring between that and the flange, so you can adjust the angle. It's expensive. It was, like I said, it was like $60. I think a little kind of crazy, but fittings are always stupid expensive. So it'll work perfectly because that's about the angle that I need to go. Just got tape on there so I don't get crap in it when I'm putting it in the car. Here's the temperature sensor for for the Davies Craig controller. They give you this inline adapter for it, which you run in the coolant outlet line. But I figured may as well just tap it's just an NPT thread, so I just tapped in the front of this just to keep it cleaner, one less thing to leak. Plug on this side, inch and a half coolant line adapter on that's the driver's side, just because, again, that's how my radiator is routed. And then in the back here, this is the only kind of weird part about this design. It's actually four pieces: the main body, and then there's a plate with a gasket in between, and then you've got these extensions that go between the block and the adapter. They give you paper gaskets along with it, but I don't like those, so I just put in some Velcro O-ring gaskets there. So go underneath the car for a second. I can show you what I got going on in here. So I've got the let's see, hopefully you can see that. So I've got the alternator in. It's not torqued down yet, but it's just in there enough mocked up to check belt routing. So if you can see, all the way on the top is the AC compressor, idler, another idler here, alternator obviously, and then the crank. So to clear the outlet line, which comes right about here, I just put this this idler and rerouted the belt around that to get to the crank pulley, so plenty of clearance in there. And then I just relocated this idler down a little bit more to make sure I've got enough wrap around the alternator. You may notice, by the way, this it's hard to tell from here, but this pulley is I forget the percentage, but this is a larger alternator pulley, and that's really just to save the alternator when I rev it. So I've got the idle at like 1150 right now, so it still charges fine at idle, but since the motor does rev up to like 8200, I did I forget what the math was, but I did the math on the RPMs for the alternator, and it was going to be really risky to just run a stock pulley on it. So then I've got, this is this pipe here goes up to the header tank up there. So I just extended it a little bit. There's a flange at the top of the thing, so the header runs like right around there. So that's all good. Obviously I need to get a shorter belt because I no longer have a water pump, but that's fine. I'll measure that once I get everything in there in final mock. And then the last thing is, let's see if we can see it in there. This is the alternator, a manual alternator adjuster that comes with the that Davies Craig header flange or manifold. So this bolt, just there's another block behind here. This is the original or the stock alternator bracket bolt. So then this L-back bracket just bolts up to the alternator here, and then you loosen and tighten the screw to get tension on it. So it eliminates the spring-mounted one. So that's about it. Okay, so next update, under the car again, obviously. So I have the, sorry, I'm trying to get the light up in here. I've got the manifold on, as you can see up there. So here's the return line to the radiator. So this is the hot water out of the motor. This is just a 90-degree hose that I found on Amazon that I just cut to fit here. It's a little tight up in there, but you can see the bottom of the manifold, obviously. Up at the top there, or the left side, I guess, is the excuse me, the vent line or expansion line that goes up over to the header tank up there, where the hook is. and then this line here. Sorry, I'm out of hands here. There we go. So this line here is that hot water out. There's the elbow into the header. So this thing's all torqued in with the gaskets on either side. I've got the alternator in and mounted. Sorry, super tight fit here. There's literally only about 6 inches between the front of the motor and the gas tank, so not a lot of space to work in here. But you can see there is the existing pipe that would go into the motor out of the pump. I've got to cut that guy back there. I'll show you that in a second. And then, where is it? Right here, I don't know if you can see that where my finger is the inlet. So one of the things that I figured out, I tried a couple different routings for the pipe, but because you can see over here, that's the air intake. I've got the elbow and stuff off, obviously, just because I'm working in there. But I was trying a few different routings. I was hoping to go just straight off of the manifold out this way, but it interferes with the intake. And unfortunately, there's no other way for me to practically route the intake. So I found a kind of a jog, the double 45. So instead of this 90 here, it'll come off at a 45 degree, and then go down over here where the pump will be. So I'm going to cut this pipe over here somewhere, and I'll show you in a second just a little tool I made to bead those ends to hold the hose. So that is underneath the car for now. Over here you can see that is the old valve for the heater control, which I decided to just remove. All that hose over there is the heater in and out of the up to the cabin, and there's actually a couple more lines, about 4 feet worth of hose in the cabin. That's all going to come out along with the coolant from that. So just clean things up a little bit. And over here is excuse my crazy messy workbench. So this is my complete hack job of a tool. Obviously just a pair of vice grips. So you can see I just took a couple pieces of scrap steel, ground them down with the grinder, and made this little shape here. I saw a couple guys do this on YouTube. Obviously, if you've got a pipe beating tool and the pipe's not in the car, there are a lot easier ways to do this. So here's just a small section of a sample pipe that I did. You can see it actually, ignore this part, this is the one, kind of the final one. It actually works pretty well. So you literally just let's see if I can do this with one hand. So you just open it up, line it up on there, and oops, there you go, line it up on there, clamp down. I don't know if I can do that with one hand, and then okay, that's completely crooked because I'm doing it with one hand, but you get the point. And then that beats it. So you just keep on crimping around and then gradually tightening it down. I think I did 3 passes on this, and the bead turns out just fine. So so that's what I'll be doing after I cut this that line over there, and then once I get the new hose in there and that all mocked up, then I'll obviously make the bracket for the pump. So there we are. Okay, so you can see the water pump right down there underneath some of the battery wires and stuff. There is the bracket that I made for it to mount to the frame. It's the one weird thing about these pumps. The flange is literally just a few, like 5, I think they're number 6 screws around the circumference. So it's not really, not the greatest setup for making an adapter. Okay, so made quite a bit of progress since last time. Doesn't look like it from looking at the dash, or the interior. Obviously that's still all apart, but the oil pump is all in, the water pump is all in, all the plumbing. I'll show that in a minute, but just wanted to kind of go through a quick test. I've run it before and I know it works, but so that's the water pump controller. This is actually an older model from Davies Craig. It's like, I don't know, 4 years old or something like that. They've got a newer one, but they work basically the same. So what it does is it'll pulse on and off the water pump at 6 volts, like every 30 seconds. It runs for 10 seconds, and then as it gets closer to the target temperature, basically similar to a thermostat, it'll pulse at 6 volts more quickly, like 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and then as it approaches, I think within like 10 degrees of the target temperature, it will just go on at 6 volts and gradually ramp up to system voltage, 13 or whatever it's running at. So that effectively makes the pump act as a thermostat. So I'm just gonna hit the ignition, and I've got the fan going because it's like frickin' 90 something still in late September in Austin, so that's fun. Fuel pump running. You can see that guy comes on. That you can, I don't know if you can hear that. That's the pump running at just to prime itself at full voltage, and now that pulsing or the flashing means that it's running at 6 volts. I don't know if that's coming out on the audio or not, but you can hear it kind of slow down. So now it's waiting 30 seconds. The temperature is obviously not registering on here because it only goes down to 104 Fahrenheit or 40 Celsius, and it's not that hot in here. So that's running. Let's see what else. I did some readjusting the gauges. I put an ignition. So before it was single button. Yeah, you can hear the. Yeah, you can hear the pump kick in if it's coming through. So that'll just keep on cycling on and off. Let's see. So yeah, I didn't really like the single button start, because what it would do is if you tap it to turn the ignition on, tap it to turn the ignition off, or just hold it once to turn the ignition on and then hit the starter. And it worked fine. I don't know, personal preference, I prefer having a separate ignition switch on it. And then I also, this is really similar to the screen that I had in here before. That goes up here. So this is the camera setup. So I've only got 2 of the 4 cameras hooked up to it right now. Oh, that's camera 2. So camera 1 is in the bumper, looking at the floor right now. So, but it's a decent system. It's a touch screen. So, but then this one also does Android Auto, which, okay, now you can probably tell where I left. But anyhow, that is that. So let me shut that off, and then I'm going to actually give us a start and make sure that the oil pressure and everything is good. Go to neutral. Do one last check to make sure nothing is hitting anything. Oh, and that's the new battery, and I also did new 2.0 battery cable, and then ran in addition to grounding it to the frame, I ran another ground wire to the block just to be safe. So yeah, looks good. So let's go ahead and give it a start. Let's see what happens. I'm just gonna let the dash go and make sure that it's, obviously want to make sure the oil pressure is good. I don't know if you can hear me, but the oil pressure right now is reading 96, which is way high, better than way low. That just means I need to adjust the pressure regulator on the pump. But obviously, plenty of pressure, and we'll see what let the coolant warm up a little bit. Kill myself with carbon monoxide. I just want to give it a bit and make sure that the thermostat, so it's got a different thermal sensor in the water pump manifold that controls this guy, and then the one in the head, obviously. Okay, so it's reading now. It's up to 140, 130. So within reasonable margin of error. This thing isn't super accurate. You can see like that first LCD is like literally one chunk up to 140. So. Keep warming up a bit. Oil pressure is still like 92, so yeah, definitely need to drop down the pressure. I'll come back after it's warmed up a bit. Okay, so as you can see, it's warming up, and as that light's flashing faster, that means that it's now constantly on, but ramping itself up to full temperature or full operating speed. So it's set to 185 Fahrenheit right now. So basically, it's the same as a 185 degree thermostat, where it'd be all the way on. And what is that, 90, or, yeah, 85 degrees Celsius. So it's at about 180 right now, so nearly up. I can tell it's working, obviously, because the radiator's getting nice and toasty. Of course, the fans don't kick in until like 190, I forget, 191 or something like that. Okay, so now you can see it's fully up to temperature, so the water pump is running. It's right at 185, so that's good. And then as it warms up, then obviously the fans will eventually kick in. And I'm pretty sure I'm about to drop dead because it's starting to stink in here. So we'll probably shut it off pretty quickly. Alright, so just went over 195. Apparently that's where I've got the fan set at. So the fans just kicked in.
looks like everything's working. Yeah, dropping back down. I think I gotta remember. I think they're set to like turn off at like 191. I think it's on at 195, off at 191 or something like that. So we'll see what it does. All right, fans just shut back off. Yeah. All right, everything seems to be cycling well. Pump is still doing good. It has a fan controller built in, but because I've got the fans controlled through the ECU, I'm not using that, so let's ignore that. So cool, and my ignition switch works. All right, so successful test. Nothing blew up, and yeah, the one thing I'll have to do is burp the coolant level after it cools down. So that's the cool level. So it's up to there, which is good.